All right, example 4, estimate the area under the curve y equals 5 over 3 plus 2x squared from x equals 1 to 4. Use the midpoint method and 8 rectangles. So, again, our first priority is to figure out the interval length. The interval length is delta x. Delta x is the length of the interval, which is 3, starting at 1 and going to 4, so that's 3 spaces. Divide that by 8, and that gives us an interval length, or a delta x value of 3/8, which is 0.375. All right. So our starting value on our table, so again, I'm going to do the table on Excel as I've already said, but if you just imagine, we have this chart, right, and x is here. My very first number is going to be whatever this number is, plus half of the delta x value. Okay, I might even throw my calculator out here, 1 plus 0.375 divided by 2, just to be safe, 1.1875. And that's my starting value. If you get that wrong, you can't get the right answer. So again, be very cautious about that. If you get a number that's not as pleasant, like the last one was 0.4, half of 0.4 was 0.2, basic. But half of 0.375, it's a little bit uglier. So again, by all means, use a calculator if you wish. But again, if I'm imagining Excel, I'm going to have x, I'm going to have y, I'm going to have delta x, and I'm going to have area, right? I'm going to set that up like that. What I want to type in the y column right here is going to be this equation. All right. And what I want to do that is I want to refer back to this cell here, which is probably going to be cell A2. Usually, if you just make a chart, that's usually cell A2 there. So, more than likely, the formula will look like that. But again, typing it in correctly is important. If you type it in incorrectly, you can't get the right answer. So,
you forgot a 2 in front of the A2.
Oh, thank you. So we're going to have 2 times A2 squared. And if you just type 2A2, your computer doesn't know what that means. You have to actually hit the multiplication symbol. So be careful of that. So it kind of, you know, if you're going to use Excel, kind of make sure you know what you're going to type in. So just like yesterday, I go to Excel, I open up a blank workbook. And then I am going to start going to work. Again, I'm going to use a bigger font here, so let's go with about a 36. And I can make these bigger and these bigger just like I did yesterday. So I get x, y, delta x area. And if I select the entire region and go all borders, and I could also center just to make it look a little nicer. All right, so basically housekeeping there. Again, for you guys, 36 font, probably too big, maybe 14 be sufficient. Don't go 11, 11's small, but you know. But again, just kind of get that grid look to it so all the numbers are separated. We figured this was 1.1875, right? Is that what we said?
Yep.
And then I want to use my formula 5 over 3 plus 2x squared. So equals, again, anytime you type the formula and you want to hit equals first, and then 5 divided by parentheses, and then, what was it again, 3 plus 2x squared?
3 plus 2 times A2
Yep.
squared.
So 3 plus 2 times, and again, you have to hit the times key. And then if you click on the cell you wish, which is A2, and then caret 2 for squared in parentheses. So that's how your formula has to look in order to get it typed correctly. You can actually manually type A2, or you can click on the cell you want to refer back to, hit enter. dx is the 0.375 we figured out, right? That's what dx was, delta x. Yep, 0.375. Yep. And then the area is equals the y value times the dx value. So b2 times c2 creates the area formula. And again, that just represents the very first rectangle all right? Now, what we have to do is we need to fill in all these formulas, and this is the one number I need to modify, so I'm going to change this. I'm going to go up by delta x, 0.375 each time. So for this A3, I put equals, and then I can click this cell, then add the delta x value. And then if I drag this down, it refigures it. If I drag this down, it just keeps on saying 0.375. If I drag that down, it refigures it.
How did you find the second, or the A3?
A3, so again, to do A3, I clicked on this cell,
Mm-hmm.
I put equals, and then I wanted the above cell, and I want to go up by delta x, so plus 0.375. So again, that's how x is always created. So you take the one above it, and then add whatever delta x is, and then if you drag that formula down, it just keeps taking the cell above and adding 0.375. So this does A2 plus 0.375. I don't know if you can see it or not. But then that's A3 plus 0.375, A4 plus 3.375. So it just keeps on saying the cell above it plus 3.375, and that's how we created that formula.
Okay.
This is saying whatever this cell is, we're supposed to do 5 divided by 3 plus 2 times that cell squared. So as I drag it down, it's going to keep changing the cell reference. So this says A2, this says A3, this will say A4, and so on. So it just keeps on evaluating the next cell down. So drag that down. 0.375, drag that down, and drag this down. And all of a sudden we got all those areas of each of the rectangles that would be created by this graph. And again, the sum of the areas of the rectangles will represent the approximate area of this region. So I might over here write area equals, go a little bigger on that one. So area equals in box F3 is where I wrote it. I'm going to put the answer in box G3. So you got to put an actual formula in here, but you can write area equals just to have that text on your paper, but then you want to actually put a formula in there. So equals, so I'm evaluating the area, so equals the sum, parentheses, and then I just drag the section I want to add together. And that gets us the area. Shrink these down a smidge. There we go. And you can round it as many decimal places as you need to. So all these are rounded, but the actual number, if I were to drag that column out more, it's got a bunch of decimal places in it. So it rounds on the display, but it doesn't round in real life. So it gets this many decimal place display. Again, however many decimal places they say, I don't think it's specified, the problem did it. So maybe I go to 4 decimal places.
3 decimal
3,
places.
so 1.198 units squared. What I go with for a final answer. Again, all Excel's doing is being a fancy calculator for you. So the whole idea of all these problems is you're doing a numerical technique to evaluate the area under the curve. There's going to be calculus techniques down the road, but calculator calculates, Excel calculates. Again, if you get proficient in Excel, it's much faster. And if I had to do 1,000 rectangles, I could do 1,000 rectangles in just about a minute more than it took me to do 8 rectangles. Be a little more challenging to find delta x and stuff like that, but once I find it, again, once I create those initial line and this right here, drag the formulas down, it figures it all out for me. So that's the power of Excel, where calculator, you're recording all the information yourself by hand. That takes a lot longer.